fellow travel warriors. I'm Steve.
And I'm George.
Join us as we unpack the challenges, excitement, preparation,
and passion for.
Hey, George.
Hey, Steve. How are you doing today?
Here we are, breaking into August with another episode. Again, we just wrapped up the series on our favorite luxury hotel stays, and man, that was fun. It was fun.
It was fun. That was a good time. Appreciate it.
Well, George, I thought we could, in the next few episodes, we can kind of explore some of our other favorite trips that are more not international, not necessarily luxury, but they have another element to the trip. I would say more adventure, a little bit of adventure travel, right? Because that creates a lot of passion. So I want to kind of set the stage. In April of 2023, I know that you like to be very precise with dates and how many nights and how were the moon, was it a full moon and all this kind of thing. So it was April. Yeah, exactly. So the dates were April 13th through the 17th.
Nice.
Okay. And I had decided, something that you said that was so spot on. Hey, you can't just keep delaying trips and maybe someday, you can't just be dreaming it all the time. Yep. Live it. Right?
Yep.
Just do it. Yep. And so that was kind of like the same thing on this trip. It's a place that I knew of since I've lived in Arizona, lived here for a long time. And it's a place that I've always wanted to go to, but just never got around to it. And I said, no, we just got to pull the trigger. We just got to do it, And wow, did that pay off. This was, again, one of the most memorable, nicest trips that we've taken.
So where was it? Where was it?
It's basically two places. The state is Utah, and there's a couple locations. There is the Antelope Canyon, which is located in Page, Arizona. Page, Arizona is about over 200 miles from north of Phoenix. Basically, you drive from Phoenix north up to Flagstaff and go east. It's about a 4-hour drive. Page, Arizona, it's a tiny little town, and it has a population of about 7,000. And the makeup, I was kind of curious as the demographic, the makeup, ethnic makeup of Page, Arizona. It's 54% Native, approximately 36% white, and 6.2% Hispanic. 265 miles northeast of Phoenix. And so what we wanted to do, and just 11 minutes from our hotel, is where the Antelope Canyon is. It is the most photographed canyon in the world. Wow. People come from all over the world to go to the canyon. It started its formation in the Jurassic period. We're talking over 150 million years ago. Okay. So this is, this canyon is, again, internationally famous. There's two canyons. There's the upper and lower. Okay. The most popular one is the upper Antelope Canyon. And it's a tour that's pretty easy to get through, especially if you're bringing, older family, because basically you get to a staging area. You go from your hotel to a staging area. This is all Navajo land. And so there must be Navajo tour guides that facilitate this tour. And so we used a tour company that I had found on YouTube called Navajo Antelope Tours. They were highly recommended, and they were cheaper than the rest. Tickets to go through the Antelope Canyon tour are about, I think, $125. I've seen them, I think, on TripAdvisor up to $150, $175. Again, it's not necessarily cheap. It's only about a 1-hour tour, but I thought it had good value to it, especially when you think of the significance of this most famous canyon in the world. So we did do the drive. We went from Phoenix, went up through Flagstaff, headed east. Kind of a rough road, George. It wasn't, we have a large sedan, as you know. Looking back, I wish I would have rented like a Toyota 4Runner or a Jeep. That would have been, and later in the story, I'll tell you why that would have been so much better. But we drove out there, kind of a long drive. And in Page, Arizona, we stayed at the Home to Home Suites,
Mm.
which, as you know, is one of my favorite places, one of my favorite hotels is inside of the hotel family. And we got there, and then we went to our first tourist location, which was actually the Glen Canyon National Park, which is a few minutes from the hotel. And it's a short hike from the parking staging area to what we call the Glen Canyon Overlook. Okay. So there's an overlook with what you will commonly referred as Horseshoe Canyon. Okay. And the Horseshoe Canyon, it's basically a lake that's in the shape of a horseshoe. And it's just absolutely beautiful because once you go from the parking area to the actual, entrance, basically there's areas to your left, to your right, where you can kind of meander and take pictures. And it's about a round
Mm.
trip to the parking area, about a mile and a half to
Yeah.
get to that actual like trailhead where you can the overlook, the vista, if you will. And so we took pictures, we kind of walked around, lots of people. They have over 1 million visitors a year. Okay.
Mm.
So they have restrooms. It's an ADA accessible national park. So that was something that we got to do the first day or upon arrival. But then we were a little bit tired from the drive. We knocked out the Glen Canyon Overlook and National Park. So we were a little bit tired, got back to the hotel, and basically the next day we had reserved the time to do the Antelope Canyon tour. Again, 11 minutes from our hotel, and we had um, basically checked out. So we checked out, everything's in the car, head out to the Navajo Antelope Tour staging area, and you basically just have to wait. And I think we had a QR code that we had printed off, and you check in, and then basically they have these massive 4x4 trucks that start coming in and forming in a little cluster. And at the time of the tour, they start calling out names, Steve, party of two, George, party of four, etc. And so that's how we got called up. And they have little ladders that help you get into these massive trucks. I mean, they're like monster trucks. And it's about a 10 to 12-minute drive to the start of the Antelope Canyon tour. Now, the Antelope Canyon tour, we did the upper. Again, these are beautiful sandstone. They're kind of curvy, wavy. I think in our little in the photo that I sent you that we're going to use for the episode. What do you call that, George? The little picture.
The
Um,
thumbnail.
yeah, the thumbnail. There's a picture of me and Shar, and one of the Navajo tour guides took a picture of it. And these guys are so pro at this. They know how to maneuver the camera, your phone, to get the right
Mm-hmm.
picture. There's
Beautiful
certain
picture.
times, yes, there's certain times of the day when if you do the tour and if you time it right and you're lucky enough, there's an actual light beam that goes right through the
Yep.
slot canyon, creating this otherworldly space, right? And it that really, again, you just a hit or miss kind of thing. But rain, wind, time is what created that. Again, 200 meters, everyone is moving in unison. And, so there's a tour guide and he's talking to you about the sandstone and how the Navajo Nation took over and made it like a tourist thing, and you get to take, you go by section, maybe you go in 50 meters and then take pictures, go another 50 meters, just majestic. I mean, you're just like, you just feel like you're in this space that has so ancient. It's like you're surrounded by a relic, you know?
Mm.
So you go, it's only one way. Okay. So as you go through the tour, you go through the 200 meters, they're kind of talking about the canyon, the slot canyon, and then basically you exit. And as you exit, you basically go counterclockwise. Okay, you kind of bank left, and then they've made some like a walkway, like in an airport they have a walking escalator. It's kind of
Hmm.
like that, but it's made out of plank wood, and you walk back to the staging area to get back on the 4x4 trucks to take you back to the parking lot. So Antelope Canyon, I cannot recommend it enough. George, I've forgotten. Have you been there?
I have not, but I've seen that how you described the light coming down. I did have that come through my feed. There was a story about sort of like unique places around the world, and that was one of them. There was a series that would hit my Instagram feed, and I saw that light what you're talking about, and I thought about you because I know you've been there, but I have not been there. I have not been to any of the national parks in Utah. And really, the only one in that area is the Grand Canyon, which was some time ago. Anyways, go on.
Well, I hope from describing this place, George, that you and Zoraida will get motivated to do this trip. It is definitely worth it. I mean, I would personally like to do it again someday in the future. It was just magical. So, okay, so we wrap up and we're already packed up and we got to get to Moab, Utah. That was the other
Mm,
place I wanted to go to. So, we've had a full day just getting there, doing one tour, and then the next day, the second tour, the Antelope Canyon tour, and then we're back on the road, a 4-hour drive to Moab, Utah. And
mm.
it's not a pleasant drive. You don't have any internet. Thank goodness we have Sirius satellite radio, but it's a long drive. It's like you're driving like a highway through the moon, through Mars. I mean, there is
Interesting.
nothing out there. And I think 2 or 3 hours later, after we got back on the road, we saw a little strip. It wasn't, I won't call it a mall, but just like a strip retail area, and they had a Subway. And I was like, perfect timing. Let's get in. We get the Subway and we take a break. I take a break from the driving, and then we proceed to Moab, Utah. Now, always save the best for last,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I had never been to Moab. I've heard that it's very popular, again, particularly with people that are into recreational vehicles and the
That's right.
hiking and all this kind of thing. Moab is really popular destination, and we're lucky. We're lucky to have stayed in such an amazing hotel, particularly in a small town like that, And it's called the Hoodoo Moab Courier Collection
Oh,
Hilton.
Hilton.
It was built. It was opened in August of 2019. It is all suite. It's got. It's just a really nice property, just off of the main street of Moab, Utah. Okay. You see you all of a sudden you make a left turn and you see this hotel. And
Mm-hmm.
the hotel was absolutely so nice. Again, setting the stage, you have a really nice lobby and they have a nice steakhouse there on property, full service spa. They had a nice gym, jacuzzi. You got mountains around you. We check in. We had, I believe, a king suite, a parlor suite, where you go in, and this is all walnut wood. You got your robe, you're safe. You got the nice couch, big 60-inch TV in the living room. Then you have your bedroom, have a large balcony. So we were day two, kind of exhausted already. We had taken so much
Yeah.
in, plus the drive and all that. We had loaded up the car with, all kinds of snacks and beverages and
Hmm.
beer, and I had my tequila, and so we bed down for the night. And then basically the next day, we go out to Arches National Park. Since I'm a veteran, I was able to get into the park free, and it's about $30 a car. So that was a nice little savings.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, we spent the entire day, George, going, exploring these most incredible rock formations that are so like you're in another world. So we had a map, and we kind of looked, and the map was so well done because it kind of showed you where you can park, if there
Mm-hmm.
was a restroom, how long that hiking path was, what you're going to see there. Just so precise, so well done. And that's what we did all day. and we had our
Mm.
little, we had our hiking gear on, we had our backpack, sunscreen, and plenty of water. So we basically went driving around like that all day, all day in Arches National Park. And then, you're sunburned, and we get back to the hotel. And George, it's so good to go back to, as you've experienced this, because you've done some incredible hiking, around the world. And that feeling when you have such a nice place to go back to
Oh yeah.
after a full day of you feeling like you've been on a field trip, you're hiking, and you get back to this spacious suite, and you take off your hiking boots. And I went into the fridge and got me a cold beer. I got my tequila out, and then I went out to the balcony barefoot, put my feet up, and it was
such a
just
good,
great.
such a.
It's the best. It is the best. So I had some notes, and that's kind of what I'm kind of looking at. There is a lot of great information on YouTube regarding the Navajo Antelope tours, which I recommend, and also the 10 things to do in Page, Arizona. Which one thing that we didn't get to do, that if have you ever heard of the wave?
Mm-mm.
Or I think it's called the wave. Yeah, the wave. It's a formation. I might be pronouncing this wrong, or maybe it's waves. Anyway, it's a special rock formation that goes like this,
Mm-hmm.
like swirly, okay, with that kind of a red rock sandstone look. And that place is one of the 10 must sees in Page, Arizona. Unfortunately, this place is so popular, George, that you must have a permit to
Oh.
go. And the permits are issued out on a lottery system. So there's no way you can pre-plan and preset a date and say, oh, well, we'll go do the wave thing. No, no. It's very like, it's a lottery. And I think you get 2 hours. I've seen that on Instagram. Some people that have, some models and stuff that have been there in that space. So YouTube is a great place to do some research, George. I would recommend that you do it, and maybe for next year or the year beyond. One other footnote on the Hoodoo Moab Curio Collection by Hilton. While we were there, we took a little walk, I think, to the store. Behind the hotel, they're building casitas.
Oh, wow.
They call them Hoodoo, and it's HOODOO. Hoodoo Casitas by Curio Collection. They were being constructed. They were in
Oh.
construction when we were there. Okay, and so since that time, they've been completed. So if you go to the Hilton site and you type in Hoodoo Moab, Utah, you'll get a chance to see the casitas as well. The casitas are 2 bedroom. They include a beautiful living room with fireplace, massive flat screen. I mean, it's like a small luxury, like a good sized luxury condo. So if you want to go with the family or bring a friend along, or you want to call Janko from
The Maldives.
the yeah, and invite him over to meet you in Moab, Utah, uh, that would be great. But that's pretty much my wrap up. Antelope Canyon in Page, Arizona, and Moab, Utah, Arches National Park. And one last thing. There is another national park uh, about 30 minutes from Moab, and that's Canyonlands National Park. And we kind of, when we were kind of almost finishing our day on our National Park Day, we did see signs, and we did see some incredible vehicles. Like they're like these expedition vehicles, George,
Mhm.
that are like, they're probably $600,000 Earth roamers. I think they're called Earth roamers, and I've seen them on YouTube. These are $600,000 recreational vehicles, military grade with the giant tires, and they got the the solar on top, and I mean, and so people go and they go, take these vehicles out there. That's pretty much it on that trip again, April 2023, and would love to do it again.
Well, that sounds excited. I've always wanted to go out there. Like I said, I think they call it the Mighty Five. The five um, national parks in Utah. And they have a website and they have different routes and different. It's something that's been on my list, but I've been so busy trying to travel outside the United States that I need to mix in some trips inside the U.S. We do have some fascinating places to see. You said you went in April. How was the weather? You said it. Was it
Weather
hot?
was fine. No, weather was fine, but you're in more of an upper elevation. Basically, I mean, Flagstaff from Phoenix, which is on the way, is 4,000 feet in elevation. It was kind of windy when we were there. It wasn't hot when we were in Page, and it was an overcast day. But when we got to Moab, we could really feel the sun. Probably low 80s or mid 80s, and that doesn't seem like it's that hot, but we felt it. I mean, we got really sunburned, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't too hot to say, oh, it's too hot to hike. No, it wasn't that. But I think April would be a good time to go. The rates were uh, maybe because it was a springtime. I mean, this was like a spring break trip for us. They were pretty high. I think I looked at when I went on the Hilton site before we shot this episode. I think right now, like if you go in October, you could stay at the Hoodoo um, for like $300 a night. But I think April is a peak time. It's probably going to be around 500 if you go during the best times to go.
I remember looking a few years ago. I don't know if it was right before the pandemic or after. Um, on the Hilton side, they had I think they had a Hilton Moab. I think if I remember, I don't know if it's still there, and I looked, I believe in May and June, and I think it was like 80,000 points a night.
Wow, that's a lot.
With right, and it kind of caught me off guard because I wasn't expecting it to be that high. So it may have been before the pandemic, or it was around. I'm sorry, around that time. And I think it was our friend Howard. They got a little RV a few years ago, and that's I think when I looked because they had talked about coming through Oklahoma and going out west, and then I was just sort of looking, but it'll interest me to go in there and look to see how much some of the Hilton properties and ISG properties are in that area. But that sounds like a great little 2 or 3 day trip from Phoenix. I mean,
Yeah,
you're in such a perfect spot, Stevie, there in Phoenix. You can go to many places driving wise, to California, up to Utah, to New Mexico, down south, to one of my places I thought that was pretty cool there south of Tucson, Tombstone, Arizona. I went there a few
that's
years
fine.
ago. So you have a lot of good day trips or, trips that you can go there for a couple of days. How exciting. Can't wait to see the pictures and would love to hear from our audience that they have gone and experienced.
One other footnote, George, if I were to do it again, of course, if you're driving from Phoenix, it's about an 8-hour drive to Moab. The thing is that we split it up, right? Because 4 hour halfway you're going to Page, so you can hit the Antelope Valley, and then you get done and go another 4 hours to get to Moab. But I think if I go again, I think I would fly from Phoenix to Salt Lake, and I believe there's flights out of Salt Lake that take about an hour to fly right into.
Mm,
But I don't like to fly on small planes. I don't like regional jets.
right.
So if I did decide that if my only option was to drive and I wanted to just go back to Moab, which would be the case, fly to Salt Lake. It's a 3.5 hour drive from Salt Lake to Moab, and I'll rent me a Jeep.
Yep.
I think that's the smart play, on the next time. If you're coming out of Phoenix again, I mean, there's no other really choice. If you want to do the Antelope Canyon in Page, you're going to have to just drive half of the way, hit that,
Mm-hmm.
drive another 4. But hey, sometimes the passion for travel sometimes means rigorous effort, right, on your part.
That's right.
And I hope that this is a cue, because I talked a little bit at the start of the episode about adventure travel, right? Because travel has so many elements. It could luxury travel, adventure travel, bucket list, right? So maybe this will be the spark for us to start doing some more episodes on adventure travel. And that's a cue to you to maybe do an episode on one of your epic trips where you did some amazing hiking.
I have a few in mind.
You have a few. I'm just giving you a hint, because you're hiking all your trips are pretty epic, but the ones that I recall that you described the hiking piece of it, man, I mean, incredible, incredible. So that's just a friendly nudge to you. I'm sure our audience would love to hear about some of those hiking trails and hiking trips that you've done. So anything else? I think we're ready to wrap up.
That's a great episode, Steve. Appreciate you sharing your story with us and our audience. And yeah, I think that's a wrap for today.
Well, thank you for joining us. Join our ever-growing community of travel warriors, and let's keep this journey going.
And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and stay updated on our latest episodes. Until next time, safe travels.